All right, so today's video, 5 lifts that I wish I knew earlier in my training. This isn't 5 lifts that I wish I knew when I first started lifting when I was a total beginner, because some of these just aren't necessary for when you're in your first day in the gym. But these are 5 lifts that I wish I discovered earlier than I had discovered them in my training. This is going to be a fun one. Just 5 like solid, great lifts that have been building me a ton of muscle recently that I just wish I had known about for a lot longer. So this is going to be a reflection on a lot of these lifts, the benefits that these lifts provide, why I like them, and why they make up for certain areas of training that we have that tend to be lacking in most people's programs. So first one is just going to be, it's actually kind of funny. The first one's not even a lift in specific, but it's just going to be pressing with a full stretch. And what I mean by this is instead of just doing a barbell or a dumbbell bench, where ironically in most cases you actually get more range of motion with the barbell just because you use too heavy of dumbbells. When you go down and you stop on a bench press, you're only limited to where your chest is, and in most cases we're using a pretty significant arch. So I'm not trying to say that there's no benefit to benching or anything. Of course there is, but a lot of us do lack presses where we actually do get a full stretch. If you enjoy benching and it works for you, just going down to your chest, that's totally fine. Keep that in your program. But I think you should have a press, or you should at least try having a press where you can actually go a little bit deeper. Whether that's a slightly lighter dumbbell bench where you can actually lower the dumbbells past where your chest is, or a machine press with a good range of motion. And if it doesn't have a good range of motion, try putting something behind your back so you can actually lower down a little bit farther. You guys know me pretty well. I'm someone that likes to get information and numbers. I don't like to base decisions off of feelings. And I'm going to sound like a total hypocrite and bro when I say this, but doing these machine presses, I know most of you guys have seen some of my training videos. I set this to go about an inch below my chest. There's parts of my upper chest that I have now that I have not seen before. So there's no way to measure that. I have no conclusive evidence of that. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Especially in these incline positions, they are incredible. So I actually added a little bit more of it to my program. Not only am I doing the incline machine, I'm also doing an incline dumbbell bench too at a slightly lower angle than this. So I'm getting a little bit more variety in terms of angles and in terms of machine versus free weight. So a decent amount of pressing that actually has a legit good range of motion. So ease into it, build up your mobility, know what your mobility is, and challenge yourself with that. Get more out of less weight here, stretch your pecs out for once. A lot of us just don't do it. We'll do a heavy bench with a big arch, and then we'll half-ass a couple flies with a half range of motion anyway. So let's be honest with ourselves. Get at least a couple presses in your program at some point where you do get a legit full range of motion. So the 2 lifts that I'll give you guys for this, it's going to be a machine incline press where you can get a legit range of motion. This can be hammer strength. Ideally, some type of plate-loaded press is going to be the way to go. And an incline dumbbell bench is going to be another great alternative to do in addition to this. Or if you don't have access to a plate-loaded machine, incline dumbbell bench, just lighten things up a little, go nice and deep, take the ego out of it. Don't worry about your numbers on this one. Just get stronger with less weight. Number 4 is going to be power shrugs. Power shrugs, my goal, if I have one like big goal with this channel, it's to like popularize power shrugs. I think they're an incredibly underrated lift, and to me it's still an industry secret. Like you know how some people have like the inside scoop or whatever, like power shrugs are wildly underrated. I've talked about underrated lifts before, but nothing comes close to power shrugs. Like nobody has these in their program, and you guys are missing out. Like I think that's one thing I could do with this channel is popularize power shrugs. They're just like, I don't say the word epic very much. I actually don't really like that word, but they feel epic, especially on these new lever arms from Miss Basement. They're incredible. Just a ridiculous stretch. Absolutely insane. And then using the power from your legs in your hips to actually get the weight up and then to control the eccentric because your traps can just handle that is unreal. And I've been doing them for, I want to say 6 weeks in my program, about 4 weeks of, 4 or 5 weeks of regular barbell power shrugs with a regular and a snatch grip, and then 1 or 2 weeks of these machine shrugs. insanity. Like I can't speak highly enough of that movement. Number 3, this is going to be another one. So behind the neck press, super underrated. Another one where it can kind of challenge certain people for mobility. So definitely be cautious when you're doing it. Don't just ease into it. No, do ease into it. Don't just rush into it is what I meant to say. So the reason why I like this lift so much is because it forces you to control the bar. When you're going behind your head and you don't really know where the bar is, like you have to go slow because you might actually hit your head on the lift. So it forces you to go slow and controlled. It forces you to actually take it slow, use a little bit lighter weight, and it's a lift that you can kind of, I don't want to say safely push close to failure, but you kind of know where your limits are. In worst case, like if you fail a rep, you're just holding it like you are on a back squat. So relatively safe to take close to failure. You can push this one hard. Just, yeah, like I said, ease into this one a little bit. Number 2 is going to be plat squats. So much more knee flexion on this than a low bar squat. And I wouldn't, if you like low bar squats, don't just ditch them entirely. I would say just try and add in some type of plat squat. It doesn't have to be the exact plat squat, but you can even get like some type of elevation for your heels on, say, a hack squat where you make them a little bit more quad biased. Front squats, zombie squats, stuff like this is all going to be great. The one that I've seen the most success with so far is going to be plat squats. These are especially good if you have super long legs or just limbs in general, like myself. For like a not so tall guy, I have oddly long limbs. I have like very stocky and short torso, strange proportions, but I guess worked well for my deadlifts. But for plat squats, get a heel elevation in an inch or so. Squat shoes can help with this too. And push your knees in front of you, kind of as far as you can comfortably go. Keep your chest high. Try not to use your hips. It's going to be so easy to use your hips, but there's no need to. We're just trying to train your quads as close as you can to failure. And this lift's going to be weird for people that are built like me, kind of posterior dominant, longer legs, etc. You're going to feel like you have way more reps in the tank, but you're going to, because you'll always be able to cheat the form and actually kind of just like good morning the weight up. But you don't need to do that. Just push it as hard as you can with strict form to bias your quads. As soon as your quads are toast on that movement, you can just rack the bar. These are just a great lift for quads, just an incredible amount of knee flexion, great stretch on the quads, where if you're only doing low bar squats, you probably are missing out on that benefit. Are your quads still going to grow from low bar? Of course, but you're probably missing out on a little bit more range of motion and a little bit more target towards the quads. And the last one that I have here, this is actually very quickly turned into my favorite lift in my program right now, like by far. There's not a single other lift that I can think of that I like more than this lift. Number 1's going to be the JM press, and there's a bunch of different ways to do this lift. So with JM press, the reason why I like this lift so much is because it actually targets your triceps by placing the most tension in their most stretched state. And since this is a compound lift and it has a great range of motion, you can load your triceps really well here, where with like a push down or an overhead extension, you just don't quite get that same tension in that stretched position in most of the variations there. So to kind of take the best of both worlds here, this is like, it's basically like a squat for your triceps is the way I see it. And it just lights up your triceps like nothing else. I would definitely still include push downs and overhead extensions into your program, which I obviously do. But JM presses, I'm doing them twice a week now on Mondays and Fridays. It's just a great lift, and they're so much fun. And there's so many different ways to do them. There's a guy on YouTube. I'm gonna link his channel or one of his videos in the comments. I'll probably just pin the comment of his. He does jam presses in a great way. Does them like 5 or 6 different ways. Incredible technique, and really kind of just opened my eyes up into the way that you can actually kind of manipulate this lift and the variations that are out there. So definitely check those videos out. What I'd say for JM press, if you're a beginner, you probably shouldn't be doing them with a full range of motion and hitting heavy weight to start, I would probably ease into it and just take it slow. When you have smaller arms, you don't have as much forearm and bicep mass to kind of protect that bottom range of motion, it might be a little bit much for your tendons and your joints when you don't really have that strength and size built up yet. So I would probably reserve them for people that have some muscle and have some experience and strength in the gym. Once you have that, you can start to experiment with different variations of JM press and just ease into it, let your tendons and your joints catch up to your actual muscles and get them used to that range of motion, and then you're good to actually train them hard, push them hard, and slowly definitely add some weight over time, add some reps over time. So with that being said, that's all I've got for today. So let me know what your thoughts are on these lifts, and if you have any lifts that you wish you discovered sooner in your training, let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to check them out. Thanks for watching.